Hey guys, it's Michał with Rumble Coaching. Today I want to go over a quick routine that targets your core muscles, ab workout if you want to call it. The way I will approach it is training the core in three-dimensional ways. So that's the way you're using your core. So we're going to have some exercise that targets rotation. There's going to be some bending or actually resisting the bending, and of course some kind of extension, so preventing that. So that's the main purpose of the core, by the way, to stabilize your back and being able to transfer the energy from the ground up where you are engaging in activities, whatever it's running or lifting weights. You got to make sure that this midsection here stabilizes your back and transfers the energy efficiently. Alright, so first exercise is going to be a plank. I'm sure all of you are familiar with the plank. I just want to emphasize the form and maybe some ways of how to make it harder or easier. So the most common plank I will see is a toe plank here on your hands, getting into that nice position here. So try to pay attention, my hands are directly under my shoulders. My feet are together. You can of course widen your stance, that will make it a little easier. Shoulders away from your ears, and I'm keeping that nice long spine. Sometimes I like to use a stick to make sure that we have that 3-point touch. So you will see now when I get to that plank, the stick touches my head, between my shoulder blades, and between my buttocks. So that's that nice neutral spine where that's where I always look forward when I ask a participant to give me a plank. Quick ways to make it harder or easier. Let's start from regression. So how would I make the plank easier? Of course you can do a plank from your knees, but the same rules apply. I'm looking forward that nice long spine, shoulders away from my ears, hands under my shoulders. Very important when you do your planks. I like to poke my clients when they do a plank, or even sometimes try to push to see if they are engaged. So if you were seeing me right now, I tighten out my quads, so I'm really engaging my quads, squeezing my glutes, pinching the coin, I call it, turning on my lats by creating a corkscrew motion, so it looks like this. Of course I'm not turning my hands, but I'm creating a full horses like that, so that really put the shoulders in a much better position and engage my lats more, and of course bracing the core. Now make sure you are able to breathe, because a lot of times people get in that plank position and it doesn't look like they're breathing that much. So I would say make sure you breathe, and also where do you breathe? Focus on breathing with your diaphragm. So you want to focus on here, nice breathing. Now how would I make it harder? You can make it a little bit more dynamic. So you can get the plank and start moving your extremities. So I'll get a wider stance here, and I'm tapping my shoulders. Try to pay attention, I'm not moving my hips. So a lot of times in this exercise I see people start hiking their hips, they're moving. I use sometimes a kind of a feedback, so you can put some kind of a ball on your back and try to do that. As you can see, I'm able to maintain that ball. So this is one way of making the plank harder. Of course there are elbow planks. What I look for from my elbow plank is a same thing, nice tall spine. Make sure your hands are in front of your elbows. A lot of times people are like that. That promotes that rounding shoulders. Focus on shorter period of planks, but emphasizing the form instead of trying to hold a long extended period of planks where you start compensating and compromising the integrity of the whole body. So remember, 3-point touch, you always make sure that your body is nice and tall, shoulders away from your ears, check, quads on, glutes squeezed, abs engaged, shoulders away, creating that corkscrew and holding that plank. You can make it harder by using your extremities. I showed you the version with the upper extremities. You can of course lift your lower extremities by lifting your leg like this. Again, the rest of the rules apply here. Next exercise will be a side plank. The reason why I really like side plank, it's a great way to determine your right to left strength, so you can compare. A lot of times I notice people have a asymmetry between left and right, and that's a good predictor of some injuries. I mentioned that before in my previous videos. how asymmetry is one of the leading causes of injury. So that's a great way to see if my left to right, if it's within the 10% of, so if you can hold the right side for a minute, left side for 70 seconds or 50, I wouldn't worry too much. But if on the right side you can barely hold, on the other side you can hold for a prolonged period of time, well, I would definitely start working on the weaker side. We'll try to figure out what is going on. So let me show you the form first from the front. Most important is keeping the elbow directly under your shoulder. That's the most common problem I see. People move the elbow too far. That's causing a lot of shear forces in here, and you can even injure yourself. So make sure you put the shoulder directly. You can stack up your feet, and from there we're just lifting up. I like to put my hand over here because I can feel if my hips are breaking. So then, for example, now I can feel it here that I'm not holding that plank. Now from here I keep that nice tall spine, shoulders away from my ears, as you can see. I squeeze my glutes, tighten my quads, bracing my abs. So that's the standard plank, I guess. You can of course make it easier by, if that is too hard, by just getting on your knees. So same thing, I'm extending my hips, coming into that half kneeling plank and the kneeling plank, and just holding that nice long spine. Make sure that you, most commonly I see people rolling forward. So if I see it from the top, your top shoulder is above your bottom hips, also not start turning in any way. Same thing here. You can make it a little easier also by creating more stability. So the top leg goes in the front, the bottom on the back. So now I have a little bit more of stability here. Also a good way. Now how would I make it harder? The easiest way, make it a little more dynamic. So I'm start incorporating, just like with the front plank, some kind of motion. So the most common way of progressing my side plank will be, I'm starting to reaching. I suggest to start just a little bit of a turning and bringing it back. I can already feel my obliques, everything here, and the back core start lighting up. So you can do some kind of going under, come up. Make sure your shoulder is back. This is a very easy way to injure the shoulder. So make sure when you do start, especially in incorporating some movement, make sure your shoulder stays back and away from. Next one.